Okay, so here we are today with another SaaS founder interview, and today I'm speaking with Tyler Smith from Text in Church. Welcome, thanks for talking with us today, Tyler. Can you introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you've been doing and what you work on?
Yeah, thanks for having me on here, Peter. I'm excited to chat with you. So I'm one of the co-founders of Text in Church. We're a communication platform where we help church leaders to engage with their communities. And really it all started because we recognize that most churches really struggle to communicate consistently with their people, and that makes people feel disconnected. And so we've created a software to help bridge that gap because we really believe that church leaders deserve to spend less time managing their tools and then more time making their people feel known, noticed, and loved. And so we kind of fit in that space right in between.
Great stuff. So your platform is more or less a CRM, but I've come to learn in the church space that you're in, there's this term ChMS, right, for church management system. Do you see that as a CRM, or is there something more specific about it that gives it that label?
Yeah, I think on a blanket level, yes, they're the same thing. Where we really kind of approach it in a different way is we don't want to just manage people, we want to engage with people. So we're an engagement or a communication platform before we're a church management system. And so church management systems, there's a huge gamut of them, as there are with CRMs. Some are way more robust than others. Where we try to do is just focus in on one area that we can do better than anyone else, and that's the communication aspect.
Okay, great. So just learning a bit about your background, about how you started this business, I found that really interesting. And you came not from, say, a conventional founding situation where you said, hey, let's start a software business. You came from the other side, which I think seems like a more entrepreneurial approach. It's you encountered a problem and you decided to set about building a solution for that. Can you tell us a little bit about how that came about on your journey?
Yeah. So I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. So I started my first business when I was 16, grew that business. And then about 10 years ago, it was a photography business. So like brick and mortar, definitely not SaaS. And so as I was kind of phasing that out, I recognized at my local church that we had a big problem with guest follow-up. And my older brother is a pastor out in California, and he was planning a church there. And we were talking and discovered that he too had that exact same problem, that doing follow-up effectively is really, really challenging. And so we just took some of the secular tools that are out there, like regular old marketing platforms, and we created drip campaigns, and we started sending emails and text messages and writing handwritten notes. And it turns out that if you're effective at following up with people, they're more likely to come back to church. The same thing is true with any business, right? If you're more effective at engaging with people and communicating and making offers, then you're going to sell more. And so that all rang true in the church space. So we built this out just for our two churches. And then real quickly, my pastor, and then also my brother shared it with folks. And for a while, I was doing this personal ministry for about 50 churches. So every Sunday night, they would tell me all their guests, and I would then go and type that into this marketing platform. I won't mention the name of what it was. And it would then trigger out emails and text messages to be sent. I would handwrite notes, and it was overwhelming. But I did this ministry for about 6 to 8 months. And then eventually I sent out an email and said, look, this has been fun, but next month's gonna be my last month. I can't do this anymore. And then immediately I got messages back saying, like, this is the most effective follow-up we've ever done. We'll pay you for it, but you can't stop. And so that was actually the epiphany moment for me of, hey, wait a minute, there's actually a business here. Even though I'd been an entrepreneur my whole life, I had never recognized that you could build a business in the church space, right? Like for me, that was kind of taboo. I didn't want ministry dollars. But it was my dad, who's a co-founder of Text in Church. He helped me to recognize, like, Tyler, it's really cool, and I'm proud of you for helping serve 50 churches. But don't stop there. Like, let's serve 5,000 churches or 50,000 churches. And so that's what got it going. But it created a huge problem for me because now all of a sudden I needed to create a software, and I am non-technical. So I didn't know how to do any of that. And so that's kind of our journey was starting to solve just one problem. And then as we created the platform, as we created the system, it made sales relatively easy for us because we had a real true problem and a real solid solution to answer that. And so that's kind of how it all got started for us.
Yeah, I really like that story. It's such a a need, and you kind of I see when these things start from a need and that brings value to other people, and you realize the business that way, it almost seems like it happens by accident. I think that's what you know, the way you phrased it to me before, you kind of got into SaaS by accident, right?
Yeah.
I found it really interesting that you were saying that were you just helping these 50 churches first by kind of running these campaigns for them using tools that existed?
Yes, exactly. So I was just using our marketing platform that I had used for a previous company, and was sending emails, sending text messages through there. And so just leveraging tools that I had, and doing what I knew. I'm a marketer, so I understood the marketing aspect of it. And so just leveraging everything that I've learned about the secular world, the business world, we just applied it to the church. So there was nothing revolutionary around what we did. We just simply took it into a niche market that no one else was doing at the time. And lots of people have joined in since then, but 10 years ago, there was no one sending text messages or doing any kind of automation in the church space.
Right,
and so
right.
It ended up being great for us because we were the first to market in that space. It also was really challenging because church leaders are very, very non-technical. And so education became one of our biggest obstacles to sales, because they didn't even understand what automation was or what that could mean for their ministry. And so that was a big struggle for us. And webinars ended up being, for the first 5 years of our business, webinars were by far our number one sales tool, because it required education for them to
okay, I got it. Great. So when you were in that situation where you mentioned you felt like you had to tell these churches that you were going to stop doing the campaigns, it was overwhelming. What made you think, hey, I'm going to build this, I'm going to build a tool to do this. I'm going to build a software that's specialized, for these guys, for this type of campaign? Because I suppose the other option might have been that you try to coach them all to run it themselves. And perhaps you felt maybe that was going to be a bit much of a challenge for them. I'm just curious about.
Yeah, I think it was understanding who our potential customer at the time was. So recognizing that church leaders wear so many hats, and this is true of business leaders as well, but we all wear so many hats that taking on one additional thing seems overwhelming. And so what our approach was to say, no, this isn't a new thing for you to do. This is something we're going to save you time. End up being one of our best sales strategies is that we can actually sell you that you're going to buy this tool and we're going to actually work for you. So you're not just getting a software, you're getting an employee. It's going to be the cheapest employee that you have on your team. They're never going to complain. They're never going to show up late to work. They're never going to get sick. And they're going to work for you 24/7, communicating with the people that you serve.
Okay, great. And so fast forward to today, you have around 7,500 churches. Is that right in your audience? So you've grown this over the past 10 years. So it looks like you have a successful software business now. One of the things that you mentioned to me, the biggest impact that you've been able to have, or something that's had the biggest impact, has been your team and the culture around the team. Can you tell us how you built such an effective team and how you instilled the culture that you have at Text in Church today?
Yeah, I think it's one of the most important things that we can do as a founder is to build a team around us of people that are phenomenal, are brilliant, are better than us. Like, one of the things when we hire someone, I don't want to hire anyone that's not better than me, right? Like that's a lot of people say that. Like, I truly believe that, because if I can surround me with people who can level us up in different ways, then we're able to grow in ways that I can't yet envision. But as a team, we'll figure out where those are. So one of the things that we do is we always talk about being known, noticed, and loved. And so that's something that we talk about with our customers, and we want them to feel known, noticed, and loved. But it actually all starts with our team. And so we're always doing small things that make our team feel that and believe that. So like this summer, for example, we're doing Fulfillment Fridays. So our entire team is off on all Fridays. The only ask is that you actually do something fulfilling. So it's not a day off. It's a day for you to go and do something that is life-giving to you. So we do lots of different things like that. And part of that comes from being a non-technical founder. We need our development team to be not just amazing, but also loyal. Like, we need them to stick around. And so that has served us Originally, it was me and my dad, and then there was just a couple more of us. And so as we've continued to grow, we still try to be a small family business, and we have almost 25 folks on our team now. But that we want to maintain that as long as I possibly can. And, if we ever have a team of 100, I hope that we're able to somehow maintain that. And I know it gets harder and harder as we grow, but that's something I'm 100% committed to, is figuring out how everyone on our team can feel that known, noticed, and loved.
Yeah, hey, that's a really great values, and I'm sure that people appreciate that. I think the way that that the Friday's often doing something really fulfilling, such a great way for people to enjoy their time off work, but also to recharge. Because as we know, development work, working on products is quite taxing mentally. It takes a lot of brain power. So that time off is also just a great way to keep people feeling engaged and excited about work when they come back. I'm sure they all appreciate that. How about your own personal journey? Because you mentioned being non-technical, and I think there's almost this kind of myth in SaaS founders that you always need to have a technical SaaS founder. And I have seen successful SaaS companies that don't have a technical founder in the founding team. I'm curious about your journey, how you have adapted, and how it seems to me that you've skilled up and learned a lot about the tech and engineering side of things. So what's that been like for you over the past 10 years?
Yeah, so to be honest with you, when we very first started, we went on Upwork, and I found a guy up in Maine, and he built our first platform. And it was good enough, but it was terrible. It was very bad. But we only had a handful of churches. We probably had 100 churches on that platform. They were all first adopters. They all loved us. We had relationship with them. So we were able to overcome a less than ideal platform. But it was painful. It hurt when you would get phone calls from people complaining that things weren't working. They were nice about it, but our platform sucked. And so it was out of necessity that I found a guy here in Kansas City who had been a technical founder of 2 other programs, brought him on board. And so we worked really, really closely together. And so finding that amazing, it doesn't have to necessarily be a co-founder, but somebody that can be your CTO, someone that can lead from that perspective, has been just critical to our success. And honestly, that person has moved on. And so he's no longer with Text in Church. And even in his transition out, the relationship that we had built with him saved us. So when he left, he basically said, "Hey, I'm going to be leaving 12 months from now." So he was with us for a full year as we brought on a new person to replace him, and they worked hand in hand. So that transition was completely smooth. Maybe it was luck. I'll be honest, maybe that was a whole lot of luck. I know that's not how it typically shakes down. But in this case, I think it was the relationship that we had built, the culture that we had built, that he didn't want to leave us hanging. And so he was there, and he's a great person. Still friends with him today. And that transition really could have been a very pivotal moment in our business's journey. And in fact, it was just this little blip on the radar. We didn't really miss a beat because of that phenomenal transition that I relate back just to focusing on people, making them feel known, noticed, and loved, building that culture of success. And we've won Inc.'s Best Workplaces the last 2 years, and there's a lot of little things that lead into that. Of all the awards that I've ever won in my entire life, I think that's the one that I'm most proud of, because it comes down to your team rates how they feel about working here. And so, that's really cool when we can create a culture of folks. And I don't deserve all the credit for that, right? This culture is being created by the people in the company. And so I try to give as much space for that as possible so that everybody can just help us to level up as we keep growing.
Great. Hey, well, that's such it's great to hear. It's quite inspiring hearing how you've approached building the team and even from starting the business. So, Tyler, I really appreciate you sharing your experiences and your story with us. Thanks for being here. Absolutely. Glad to do it, Peter. Great. Okay. We'll see you around. Oh, just before you go, is there some way that anyone should follow up or just can check out, see what you're doing? Maybe we can just refer them to the product or. Yeah, just go to texandchurch.com. We're on all the socials at Text and Church as well. Just hop over to our website. If you have questions, if anything I can do to be helpful, I'm here to serve. So
Absolutely.
Great. Thank you so much. Cheers.